it's July 16th, and Tuesday nights are the time that we go over the readings from Sunday, from Sunday's Church of Spirituality. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I did manage to fix my camera and everything. It took a little while. You know, technology. Sometimes it gets so frustrating, you just have to figure it out. So I'll wait few minutes for people to show up. Still relatively new that we're meeting on this channel on Tuesdays. I'm going to grab the readings from Sunday. If you ever have to watch this on replay, just know that it takes about a day for this video to upload. So let me just start by saying that the theme for the month of July, welcome, I see people are showing up. The theme for the month of July has been the role of divine autonomy. And as people are showing up, I just want you to know that you can feel free, well, first of all, to say hello. You can feel free to ask me questions. So if some questions come up about the readings, you know, they're pretty in-depth. They're pretty full of, you know, they're pretty robust readings. Feel free. Yes, thanks for coming, Darren. Thanks for the envelope. It's always appreciated, muchly. The sermon was your own divine song. So certainly think of questions and ask them if you have any. Singing your own divine song. So the theme is really about the largely overlooked fact that we all are unique. We are all individuals. I guess when I think about just that idea, I think of the late great Mr. Rogers, because I grew up in a big family, and Mr. Rogers had this song. I don't remember. It was like it ended in "You Are Special," and it makes me think of that. You are special, and that might sound like it's childlike, but you'd be amazed at how many people need to know that, and how many people just really, I think we all have to reaffirm it. We all have to really think about it, because we put ourselves down, and we feel put down, and the more we put ourselves down, the more we tend to attract people that you know are disrespectful, or that put us down in a certain way. So really, it's important to think about, you know, do I feel like I'm special? Because you really are. You, like I mentioned on Sunday, our fingerprints are all different. There's not one. That's why you can put, if you have your phone set up, I don't, but you know, I have an iPad. You just touch your fingerprint and it opens up, but it can only open up for you because you have this special fingerprint. We kind of disregard that way too much for our own good, I think. I'm going to read the reading from Ernest Holmes. And what I was kind of looking for was the topic of individuality when I was seeking readings for Sunday. So Ernest Holmes says this, and take a deep breath and really, I'm going to read it slowly so you can really take in the words. Perhaps it would be a good idea to elaborate on this and explain just what individuality really means. Individuality means self-choice, volition, conscious mind, personified spirit with a capital S, complete freedom and a power to back up that freedom. We cannot imagine a mechanical or unspontaneous individuality. To be real and free, individuality must be created in the image of perfection, and let alone to make the great discovery for itself. Freedom of will means the ability to do, say, and think as one wishes, to express life as one personally desires, To be able only to think and dream of freedom would not be liberty. To only think and dream of it would not be liberty. To imagine without the power to manifest that imagination would be to remain in a sort of dream world which would never come to complete self-realization. This is not the world in which man lives at all, for man's world is one of self-expression. So I don't know about you, but I find that in my own life, because I think I've always wanted to communicate and express my point of view, my perspective, and I'm wondering if you also have always recognized that within yourself, because we all do have that. I need to express, like if when you were young, maybe, Michelle, maybe you had a journal. I kept a journal when I was from ages probably 10 through my teen years. I eventually threw them all away because they kind of weren't relevant, but the need to express feelings, the need to express what's coming through you. We all have that. And most people that I meet have had that shut down, discouraged, shunned. And I want to say something about that. We get shut down and discouraged and shunned when others feel that they don't have that power within themselves, so why should you have it? But we're all born with that power. We're here to express the divinity that we are. We're here for that. There's not much else we're here for. It's like, sing your own song. We all resonate at a different frequency. And here's where it gets a little confusing for people. Is like, as unique as we are, we're all connected. I've mentioned that Deepak Chopra would talk about this, like, primordial soup. We're all part of this soup, right? Or you've probably heard it said, there were two fish swimming in the ocean, talking fish, and one said to the other, you know, I keep hearing about this ocean. Everyone's talking about, all these other fish are talking about this ocean. What do you know about this ocean? Right? And they're swimming around in it. That's how it is for us. But each one of us is unique and contributes to that collective organism that we all are in such a way that it shifts and it changes a little bit just by how we are being, how our energy is. It's been said many times that when Jesus the Christ, when he was teaching, he went from village to village. It's been said that the energy of the village changed when he arrived. And somebody that's like an avatar, that's at that level of vibrational frequency, you can perceive it, especially if you're sensitive. You can perceive something shifted, right? And if you think that you don't have that ability, think again, because if you walk into a room and there's just been a fight, you can feel it. So we're all always picking up on what each other is broadcasting. You've probably had the experience of, I just want to walk away from this person or this space because it just feels wrong, right? A lot of us have experienced that this week with some of the people that are just not good people. We'll just put it that way. That are you know, when you watch what they're engaged in and they're spewing lies and everything, you can feel that, right? So that's what they're broadcasting. So when they're contributing that negativity to the collective organism, when you're contributing high vibrational frequency love to the organism, first of all, guess what's the higher frequency is the love. And second of all, it counters, because you're unique and you're different and you're special and you're expressing love in your life and in who you are. That energy neutralizes, at least to some degree, and the more you do it, the more it works, because you're part of the whole. So when Ernest Holmes says, Perhaps it would be a good idea to elaborate on this and explain just what individuality really means. Individuality means self-choice. These are really good words to reflect on. Self-choice. Volition. Volition, you hear that word used when it's like, I went of my own volition. I chose of my own volition. Why did you do that? I was of my own volition. It's kind of like I took the initiative. I listened to self, and it was through my own volition. I did this activity. I said this thing, and those are choices. And our will is part of this expressing our individuality. And when you have what we might call a strong will, or I like to call it a strong personal constitution, let me tell you right now, there's not much that can mess with that. If you're sure of who you are, and you're sure of how you feel, and you're sure of what you, like, I know that I know, right? I could say, I know there's a divine power, you know, that we're made of, moving within us and through us, like we always like to say at Science of Mind. There's, you know, God is all in all, a divine presence that is everywhere. And it's moving, it's in me, and it's moving through me at all times. And we all express that in our own individual way. Now, you don't have to think that you have to be a creative artist or a musician or writer. You don't have to think that. You don't have to be those things. How you show up in life is your own individual creative expression. It might be that you like to express the energy that you are in the work that you do, and the conversations that you have, and the fashion that you like to wear, and the way that you present. All those things are you, like your own individual fingerprint, contributing to the whole. Let's give up the temptation that society wants us to fall into, that says you should be like everybody else. We have to really resist that. You know, when COVID hit, I remember seeing little memes and quotes about, where would you be without the artists right now? Where would you be without movies to watch and music to listen to, and I don't know, like creative recipes to make? Where would you be without that? So all these expressions that we are these expressions of our individuality, help us and help the whole. So let's not think that we shouldn't be creating. Darren's writing the negative outcome with the question mark, and I kind of missed the first part. Talk a lot about the story of the Gloucester fisherman and the perfect storm. I believe the book mentioned a lot of fighting and negative energy on that boat. I often wonder if that tragedy attracted the negative outcome. They went out during hurricane season, and they shouldn't have. That's, I mean, you could say that, but I mean, just as far as the story of the perfect storm, I had just moved to Nashville from Gloucester, Massachusetts. My brother, who was a fisherman at the time, saw those guys as they were going out to sea for the last time, and he said, "You guys are crazy, it's hurricane season." So I don't feel like, the negativity probably didn't help, but I know that the guys that go fishing, there's a camaraderie there, and so food for thought. That was the impression you got from Sebastian Junger's book. Yeah, well, he was being a little sensationalist. He's an individual too. He expresses, he's kind of into drama. Anyway, does anyone have a question about the reading? Let's see. To be able only to think and dream of freedom would not be liberty. We have to also manifest that. We also have to, you know, we used to say in Science of Mind, treat and move your feet like a spiritual mind treatment is an affirmative prayer, stating, like we always say, the prayer for healing of America, right? Yeah, it was hurricane season. It was really bad hurricane season. So to be able to not just think and dream, But to put that into action, that's what we used to say, treat and move your feet. Like pray, do affirmative prayer, see it as done, and then do what needs to be done to make that a reality. Doesn't look like anyone has any questions, so we'll move ahead a little bit. I don't know why I wrote Eric Butterfield, because it was Eric Butterworth. Oh no. This book, You Make the Difference, by Eric Butterworth, very, very old book, just like Ernest Holmes, very old writings, but divine ancient wisdom that's been with us throughout the ages. Does God get pissed if you talk to the universe? Well, first of all, God is not a person. So your question kind of infers that God is a person. So God couldn't get pissed because God isn't a person. Let me tell you something about that. I have a habit when I do my walking, which is usually daily, unless I'm really, really busy. And because I grew up Catholic and because I really profoundly believe in the power of prayer, especially prayers that have been said for thousands of years, I have a habit of reciting the rosary while I'm walking. And it kind of keeps my mind on one thing. And one day I realized that I was getting like a little bit miffed because I was just kind of walking, I would daydream and I'd lose my place in the rosary, like where am I? And one day I just started laughing at myself and I went, nobody's up there counting, Annette. Nobody knows, like, you messed up, you went to the 8th Hail Mary when you're really you thought you were on the 8th, but you were really on the 5th. You know what I mean? It's just like nobody's up there counting and assessing and up there because God is everywhere. So it's an interesting question because the inference there, it's not wrong, but you just reminded me that a lot of people, because of the way that they were taught through religious dogma, think that God is a person. And God is a divine, you can believe whatever you believe, it's just the way that I feel and see it is this, and it makes more sense to me. There's a divine intelligence, that's what Ernest Holmes often called it, a divine intelligence, it's a divine consciousness. Yeah, you can pray to the universe. If you call it the universe, like I always say at Church of Spirituality, when we start our prayer time, dear God, divine Father, divine Mother, source of all life, and I throw in a few different words for God. Allah, Jehovah, I am, the great I am, Abba, there's so many words for God. And if you go to the Aramaic language, there are many words for God. So it's all, humans engaged in this almost impossible task of how do you put the whole universe, this divine intelligence into a word. It even astounded Einstein. All right, feel free to throw your questions up there. I'm going to go to the next reading by Eric Butterworth. You Make the Difference is the book. You owe it to yourself and to those whose lives are influenced so very much by whether or not you are happy or satisfied or successful. You owe it to yourself to find your own calling. Let me mention one thing. I'm going to stop here to mention one thing. There's a mass consciousness crazy idea that when a person gets to a particular age, they don't have a calling anymore. Can we just right now, if anybody has any semblance of a belief like that, it might be subconscious, you might not know you believe this. You have a calling, and it's not connected to how old you are or how young you are. You simply have a calling. I do want to mention here that the late, great Louise Hay, the godmother, I call her the godmother of the spiritual self-help movement, wrote the book that put her on the world map. She became world famous, and she wrote that book when she was 60. You Can Heal Your Life. And from that point, she continued to grow and to learn and to have more and more success and to lecture all around the world and to make, at that time it was tapes, and you can find her on YouTube. And she died in her mid-90s, I think probably in her sleep. She had a calling, and you too have a calling. So it's not connected to age, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because in my spiritual counseling work, I cannot believe how many people say, or maybe I can believe it, but it's sad. Oh, but that ship has sailed. Well, it's kind of late in the game for that. And well, I'm retired. So I get people to change the word retired to graduated, which shifts everything. The power of words is just magnificent. So, you must seek to find the insight to see your present work, not necessarily a job, to see your present work as a calling. Let me mention something here. Most of what I do, aside from donations from some generous, lovely people, is not a job, it's a calling. And I'm not saying that because, I'm somebody special because I have a calling, because you also have a calling. I'm just making the distinction between a job that you do for a paycheck, and your job could be your calling. Hopefully it is. But it's different because it's a calling and you do it because you find yourself doing it. It will give you the satisfaction of excellence if you see your work as a calling, whatever it is that you're doing. It will give you a sense of excellence, the satisfaction of excellence, and it will give the world the benefit of the services of genius. If you're doing it because you're compelled to do it, you are a genius in that area, no matter what you think. If you're being compelled to do it, that's a calling, and that means you're a genius in that area. I'm not joking, that is how it works. Nor was Eric Butterworth joking. Now, you may little dream that you are a genius, but you do have a particular genius for doing something in a unique and excellent manner because you are unique. We don't have enough conversations like this in our world, right? In our societies. When was the last time somebody pointed to you and said, "You are a genius. You have a particular genius for that you do in a unique and excellent manner"? When was the last time somebody said something like that to you? That is the truth. And the reason you don't hear that from other people is because they're insecure in their own sense of having a calling, in their own sense of self-worth, in their own sense of being important and unique. Doesn't mean they're not those things. They just don't know it. You might want to tell them. What do you really enjoy doing? Often you find the keys to your calling in your hobbies and outside interests. Follow your genius, and you will soon be doing work that is both fulfilling and remunerative. Remunerative. These old readings, I always come across with new words. That just means that it produces wealth and substance and goodness. I want to see if you have any questions. If you don't, we'll call it an evening. This meeting's like 20 to 25 minutes. I want you to all think about what you missed when you considered what your life is all about. You were told this many times this past weekend at Woody Fest. Woody Fest feeds your soul in many ways. Yes, and you were probably selling art, right? I think it's a little bit easier for people that are actively creating. Like I was in the studio today, that are actively creating. It's a little bit easier to conceive of this. Like that song that I wrote, nobody else wrote. That kind of a feeling. And that painting that you did, Amy, or whatever it is. That's nobody else did that, just you. But we all have that capability. If you're baking cookies, every single cookie that you bake, that you make has a uniqueness, right? If you make those thumbprint cookies, maybe think about that. Your thumbprint, little dab of jam, right? Sounds good right now. Everybody has their own role, their own individual part to play. When I think about children and how we're taught, how children are taught, the best model for teaching children, and some of you may know this, to me, is the Montessori model, in which people, yeah, your daughter's a sous chef and loves what she does. Yeah, that's her calling. So in a Montessori school for the little ones, they go into the school. My best friend started 5 or 6 Montessori schools, maybe more, in Nashville, because there weren't any many years ago. Did very well. It's a model where the child teaches themselves. They're put in a particular environment, they're given things to work with and tools to work with, and that the Montessori model acknowledges that kids have that inner teacher and that inner wisdom. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. If you feel like you don't have it, maybe tune in more, maybe sign up for spiritual life coaching. You know that I offer that. So, it's okay that you're late. Just know, before we sign off in a minute, every Tuesday, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time, we get together for about 20 to 25 minutes to go over the readings from Sunday, because they're so rich with meaning, and I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to do a deep dive in. If you'd like to donate to Church of Spirituality, please do so. I am dependent on donations and business. If you'd like to book a session, go to psychicannetteDion.com. Tell your friends. The church, the number of views for church this past week went way up, so I'm excited about that. So let's keep it going. All right, and this will post after about 12 to 20 hours. It takes a long time for a new channel for videos to upload, but that amount of upload time should shorten as time goes on. Please make sure that you hit the thumbs up and that you subscribe if you haven't already. All right, namaste, have a good night. Thanks for coming. Be well.